The aroma of freshly baked bread and espresso filled the upscale cafe nestled in downtown Boston's financial district. Amelia Parker hurried through the glass doors, her rain-soaked umbrella dripping onto the polished marble floor. The morning rush had subsided, but every table remained occupied by well-dressed professionals, tapping away on laptops or engaged in hushed business conversations. At 34, Amelia stood out in her slightly wrinkled blouse and practical flats, a stark contrast to the power suits and designer shoes surrounding her. "Just 15 minutes, she whispered to herself, checking her watch. 15 precious minutes to review her presentation notes before the interview that could change everything for her and her 7-year-old daughter, Bella. After 3 years of juggling part-time jobs while completing her business degree online, this opportunity at Maxwell Enterprises was her shot at stability. Rain pounded against the windows as Amelia scanned the cafe for any available seat. Her gaze landed on a corner table where a man sat alone, the empty chair across from him her only hope. With her coffee in one hand and portfolio clutched tightly in the other, she approached cautiously. "Excuse me." Her voice wavered slightly. "Can I sit here just for a few minutes?" The man looked up and Amelia's breath caught. Even seated, his presence commanded attention. Sharp blue eyes assessed her from beneath dark brows, his expression unreadable. He wore a charcoal suit that undoubtedly cost more than her monthly rent, a platinum watch glinting at his wrist. Before him sat an untouched plate of eggs Benedict and a steaming cup of black coffee. "Only if you eat too," he replied, nodding toward his plate. "I can't stand wasting food and I've lost my appetite this morning." Amelia hesitated. The unexpected condition caught her off guard, but the cafe's wall clock reminded her that options were limited. "I couldn't possibly—" "Please," he insisted, his voice softening slightly, "consider it a favor to me." With a tentative smile, Amelia slid into the chair. "Thank you. I'm Amelia. Daniel," he offered simply, pushing the plate toward her. No last name, no explanation. Amelia took a small bite, suddenly aware of how hungry she actually was. She'd skipped breakfast to drop Bella off at her neighbor's apartment earlier than usual. The rich hollandaise sauce melted on her tongue, momentarily distracting her from the interview preparation. "Important meeting?" Daniel asked, gesturing to the portfolio she'd placed carefully on the dry edge of the table. "Job interview," she admitted, "at Maxwell Enterprises." Something flickered across his face. Surprise, perhaps curiosity. "Competitive place." "I know," Amelia said, taking another bite to calm her nerves. "But their family-friendly policies are unmatched, and they actually promote from within. I need something stable for my daughter." Daniel's expression shifted almost imperceptibly. "Single parent?" Amelia nodded, accustomed to the question. For the past 5 years, her father decided fatherhood wasn't in his 5-year plan. She immediately regretted the bitter edge in her voice. "Sorry. Oversharing with strangers isn't usually my thing." "Sometimes strangers are easier to talk to," Daniel replied, checking his own watch. "What position are you interviewing for?" "Marketing coordinator," Amelia said, flipping open her portfolio to show him a sleek presentation. "I've been freelancing while finishing my degree, but with Bella starting 2nd grade, we need something more predictable." Daniel leaned forward, studying the page with unexpected interest. "Your approach is unconventional." Amelia felt a flush of pride mixed with uncertainty. "Too risky?" "Bold," he corrected. "Maxwell could use more bold." The rain outside intensified, drumming against the windows. For the next 10 minutes, Daniel asked surprisingly insightful questions about her marketing strategies, challenging certain aspects while nodding appreciatively at others. Despite his casual demeanor, his knowledge of business principles was extensive. "You seem to know a lot about marketing for someone who doesn't work in the field," Amelia remarked, gathering her materials as the time for her interview approached. Daniel's mouth curved into a half-smile. "I dabble in various businesses." "Well, thank you for the breakfast and the impromptu practice session," Amelia said, rising from her chair, "and for sharing your table." "Good luck, Amelia," he replied, his eyes lingering on hers for a moment longer than necessary. "Remember, they need you as much as you need them." With renewed confidence, Amelia stepped back into the rain, hurrying the 3 blocks to the imposing Maxwell Enterprises building. By the time she reached the gleaming lobby, her shoes were soaked, but her mind was sharp and focused. The receptionist directed her to the 38th floor, where Patricia Hughes, head of human resources, greeted her with a practiced smile. "Amelia Parker, right this way. The team is looking forward to meeting you." The interview room contained not the small panel Amelia had expected, but a long table where 6 executives sat reviewing her resume. At the head of the table, an empty chair awaited. "We're just waiting for our CEO," Patricia explained. "He likes to sit in on final interviews personally." Amelia's stomach tightened. The job description had mentioned a panel interview, but not the company's chief executive officer. She straightened her portfolio on the table, grateful for the unexpected preparation session at the cafe. The door opened behind her, and Patricia's demeanor immediately shifted to one of deference. "Ah, Mr. Maxwell, thank you for joining us." Amelia turned, the polite smile freezing on her face as familiar blue eyes met hers. Daniel Maxwell, not just any businessman, but the billionaire founder and CEO of Maxwell Enterprises, stood in the doorway, his expression revealing nothing of their earlier encounter. "Ms. Parker," he said evenly, extending his hand, "we meet again." The executives exchanged confused glances as Amelia struggled to process this revelation. The man who had shared his breakfast and offered interview advice was the same man who would decide her professional fate. "You two know each other?" Patricia asked, clearly surprised. Before Amelia could formulate a response, Daniel took his seat at the head of the table. "Ms. Parker and I had an interesting discussion about marketing strategies this morning. In fact, I believe we've already conducted half her interview over Eggs Benedict." Nervous laughter rippled through the room. Amelia felt dizzy with the implications. Had he known who she was at the cafe? Was this some kind of test? "Well then," said the financial officer, a silver-haired man with wire-rimmed glasses, "perhaps you'd like to share some of those strategies with the rest of us, Miss Parker." Taking a deep breath, Amelia opened her portfolio. As she began her presentation, she noticed Daniel watching her with an unreadable expression. Behind his composed exterior, something akin to respect flickered in his eyes, or perhaps it was something more complicated. Little did Amelia know, this chance encounter would set in motion events that would transform not only her career but her life and Daniel's, in ways neither of them could have anticipated. The rainy morning that had begun with a simple question, "Can I sit here?" was about to lead them both down an unexpected path filled with professional challenges, personal revelations, and the complicated reality of crossing the divide between their worlds. Word count, 1,443 words. I need to add more content to reach the required 1,450 word count. Let me continue. As Amelia concluded her presentation, the room fell into a thoughtful silence. She had given everything she had, pouring 3 years of study and a lifetime of determination into those 15 minutes. The marketing director, a woman named Vivian with a sharp bob and sharper eyes, nodded appreciatively. "Your concept for targeting family-oriented consumers is refreshing, Ms. Parker," she said, "though I wonder about the implementation costs." Amelia had anticipated this question. "The beauty of digital-first campaigns is scalability," she explained, flipping to her budget projections. "We can test concepts in limited markets before full deployment, minimizing financial risk while maximizing learning opportunities." Daniel leaned forward, his fingers steepled beneath his chin. And if the initial tests fail, their eyes met across the table, and for a split second, Amelia was transported back to the cafe, to the strange intimacy of their conversation. She straightened her shoulders. "Then we learn exactly what doesn't work, which is just as valuable," she replied. "No marketing campaign exists in isolation. Each interaction with consumers builds a relationship, even when the metrics don't immediately reflect success." A hint of a smile played at the corner of Daniel's mouth. "Relationships over transactions. Interesting philosophy for business." "It's how I've built my freelance client base," Amelia said. "People return when they feel valued, not just serviced." The interview continued for another 30 minutes, each executive probing different aspects of her experience and vision. Throughout, Daniel remained mostly silent, observing the exchange with calculated interest. Only when Patricia signaled the conclusion did he speak again. "One final question, Ms. Parker," he said, his voice drawing everyone's attention. "Why Maxwell Enterprises specifically? Boston has no shortage of marketing opportunities." The question hung in the air, deceptively simple yet loaded with implication. Amelia knew the standard answers: company reputation, growth potential, industry leadership, but something told her Daniel was looking for more. "Truthfully," she began, deciding authenticity was her only play, "your company's policies for working parents, the flexible scheduling, on-site childcare for emergencies, advancement opportunities that don't require choosing between career and family." She took a breath. "I'm a single mother to an amazing 7-year-old girl. She deserves stability, and I deserve a chance to provide that without sacrificing her childhood or my professional growth." The room fell quiet. Patricia's expression softened almost imperceptibly, while Vivian exchanged a glance with the financial officer. Daniel's face remained unreadable, though something flickered behind his eyes. "Thank you for your candor, Ms. Parker," he said finally. "Patricia will be in touch by the end of the week." With that, the interview concluded. Amelia shook hands with each executive, saving Daniel for last. His grip was firm, professional, no hint of their earlier connection. "Mr. Maxwell," she said, meeting his gaze directly. Ms. Parker. A pause, almost imperceptible. Best of luck. Outside, the rain had stopped, though dark clouds still hung heavy over the city. Amelia stepped onto the sidewalk, emotions swirling. Had she been too honest? Too bold? The fact that she'd unknowingly shared breakfast with the company's billionaire CEO seemed like a cosmic joke, though whether at her expense remained to be seen. Her phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Gonzalez, her elderly neighbor. Bella doing homework. How did interview go? Amelia typed back. Finished. Complicated. Tell you later. Complicated didn't begin to cover it. As she waited for the bus that would take her back to their small apartment in Dorchester, Amelia couldn't shake the feeling that regardless of the outcome, something significant had shifted in her life's trajectory. For better or worse remained to be determined. What she couldn't know was that Daniel Maxwell sat in his corner office, staring out at the same cloudy skyline, turning a platinum pen between his fingers, his thoughts similarly occupied with their chance encounter and the unexpected direction of the day. 3 days later, Amelia stared at the email on her phone, reading it for the 4th time to ensure she hadn't misunderstood. Dear Ms. Parker, we are pleased to offer you the position of Senior Marketing Coordinator at Maxwell Enterprises, effective immediately. This represents an advancement from the original position discussed, reflecting our confidence in your capabilities as demonstrated in your interview. Please report to HR on Monday at 9 a.m. to complete necessary paperwork. Regards, Patricia Hughes, Head of Human Resources. Senior Marketing Coordinator? Amelia whispered, sinking onto the worn couch in her small living room. The position was 2 levels above what she'd applied for, with a salary that would completely transform their financial situation. Mom? Did you hear me? Bella stood before her in mismatched pajamas, her dark curls wild from sleep, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. I said I'm hungry. Sorry, sweetie, Amelia said, setting down her phone and pulling her daughter into a hug. Guess what? Mom got the job. The one with the big building? Bella asked, her brown eyes, so like Amelia's own, widening. That's the one. And it means no more rushing between different jobs. I'll be home for dinner almost every night. Bella's face lit up with a smile that made every struggle of the past 5 years worthwhile. Can we have pancakes to celebrate? Absolutely, Amelia laughed, heading to the kitchen. As she mixed batter and heated the griddle, her mind raced with possibilities. The senior position meant they could finally move out of their 1-bedroom apartment. Bella could have her own room, maybe even space for a desk where she could do her homework without sitting on her bed. Yet beneath her excitement lurked uncertainty. Why had Daniel Maxwell upgraded her position? Was it genuine recognition of her abilities, or did he feel some obligation after their chance meeting? The thought that she might have received special treatment made her uncomfortable. Monday arrived with crisp autumn sunshine. Amelia dropped Bella at school before taking the bus to the financial district. The Maxwell Enterprises building gleamed against the blue sky, its glass facade reflecting clouds and neighboring skyscrapers. In daylight, without rain and pre-interview nerves, Amelia absorbed details she'd missed before. The tasteful landscaping, the subtle security measures, the diverse stream of employees entering through revolving doors. Patricia Hughes met her in the lobby, clipboard in hand. Welcome to Maxwell, Amelia. You've caused quite a stir, you know. I have? Amelia asked, suddenly self-conscious in her new navy blazer and pencil skirt, purchased over the weekend from a second-hand boutique. It's not every day Daniel Maxwell personally advocates for a position upgrade, Patricia explained, leading her toward the elevators. In 10 years, I've never seen him take such immediate interest in a new hire. Amelia's cheeks warmed. I didn't request special treatment. Patricia's expression softened. No one's suggesting that. Your qualifications speak for themselves, but something about your interview clearly resonated. The morning passed in a blur of paperwork, introductions, and orientation. By lunchtime, Amelia had met her team, 4 young marketing associates who regarded her with a mixture of curiosity and wariness, and been assigned a small but private office with a window overlooking the harbor. Senior coordinators usually share space, her direct supervisor, Marcus Reynolds, had explained with slight awkwardness. But Mr. Maxwell insisted you'd need privacy for creative development. Each mention of Daniel's involvement increased Amelia's discomfort. By noon, she'd decided to address it directly. Gathering her courage, she requested a brief meeting with the CEO. To her surprise, Patricia arranged it for that afternoon. He's actually asked to check in with you, she said. 3 o'clock in his office. At precisely 3, Amelia knocked on the imposing double doors on the building's top floor. Daniel's assistant, a poised woman named Grace, immediately ushered her into a spacious office dominated by floor-to-ceiling windows and minimalist furniture. Daniel stood as she entered, setting aside a tablet. Gone was the slight informality of the cafe. Here he was, every inch the powerful CEO, his presence magnified by the rarefied setting. "Miss Parker," he greeted her, gesturing to a chair across from his desk. "How's your first day progressing?" "That's actually what I wanted to discuss," Amelia said, declining to sit. "While I'm grateful for the opportunity, I'm concerned about the circumstances of my hiring." Daniel's expression remained neutral. "You're qualified for the position." "For the original position I applied for, yes," Amelia countered. "But senior coordinator? With a private office and special attention from the CEO? People talk, Mr. Maxwell. I don't want to begin my career here under a cloud of suspicion." A moment of silence stretched between them. Outside the windows, a seagull soared past, momentarily distracting Amelia with the vertigo-inducing height. "Do you know why I was at that cafe last Thursday?" Daniel finally asked. The question caught her off guard. "I assumed you were having breakfast." "I was avoiding my 8 o'clock meeting," he admitted, the corner of his mouth lifting slightly. "Quarterly board reviews. Necessary but tedious. I was postponing the inevitable." Amelia remained silent, unsure where this was leading. "Then you approached my table," Daniel continued, leaning against his desk. "Drenched from rain, clearly stressed yet direct. You asked for what you needed. When I made my odd request about the food, you adapted. Most importantly, when you spoke about marketing, your entire demeanor transformed. You weren't reciting textbook theories, you were articulating vision." He straightened, meeting her gaze directly. "I've built this company by recognizing talent and potential, Ms. Parker. You have both. The position upgrade wasn't charity or special treatment. It was calculated self-interest. Maxwell needs people who see beyond conventional approaches." Amelia processed his words, some of her tension easing. "Still, the perception will fade when your results speak for themselves," he interrupted. "I'm not concerned with office gossip. Neither should you be." His confidence was both reassuring and intimidating. "Thank you for the clarification," Amelia said finally. "Now," Daniel said, his tone shifting to something more businesslike, "your first assignment. Vivian tells me our family products division has been underperforming. I want fresh eyes on their strategy." The abrupt transition to work caught Amelia off guard, but she welcomed the chance to prove herself through action rather than words. "I'll need access to their previous campaign data." "You'll have everything required," Daniel assured her. "Report directly to me on this one." As Amelia turned to leave, a silver-framed photograph on a side table caught her attention. It showed a younger Daniel with an older man who shared his features, both in fishing gear, holding an impressive catch. "My father," Daniel said, noting her gaze. "He started Maxwell as a small consulting firm 30 years ago. Passed away last spring." The unexpected personal detail revealed a glimpse of the man behind the CEO persona. "I'm sorry for your loss." Daniel nodded once, his expression momentarily unguarded. "He would have liked your marketing approach. He always said business was about people first, profit second." The moment of connection passed quickly as Daniel's assistant appeared at the door, reminding him of his next appointment. As Amelia walked back to her office, she felt more grounded. The job was real, earned through merit, not charity. Now she needed to prove Daniel's faith warranted. Over the following weeks, Amelia threw herself into the family products project. Her days fell into a challenging but rewarding rhythm. Mornings organizing marketing data, afternoons collaborating with product developers, evenings with Bella. With her first paycheck, she secured a 2-bedroom apartment closer to Bella's school, transforming their lives in tangible ways. Her relationship with Daniel remained strictly professional, their interactions limited to weekly progress reports and occasional strategic discussions. Yet Amelia couldn't help noticing subtle shifts in his demeanor when they worked together. A relaxing of his formal facade, moments of unexpected humor, a willingness to consider unconventional ideas. What she didn't know was how often Daniel found himself thinking about their conversations, impressed not just by her marketing instincts, but by her unwavering priority, creating a stable life for her daughter. In his world of ambitious executives and strategic partnerships, such straightforward purpose was refreshingly genuine. The Winter Gala for Maxwell Enterprises' top clients and executives had been marked on the company calendar for months. Held at the historic Gardner Museum, it represented not just a celebration of the year's achievements, but a strategic networking opportunity. For Amelia, now 3 months into her role, it was her first major corporate social event, a fact that filled her with equal parts excitement and dread. "You have to go," insisted Vivian during their weekly department lunch. "It's career suicide to skip the gala." "I know," Amelia sighed, pushing salad around her plate. "But the babysitter I usually rely on is visiting family for the holidays, and Bella's too young to stay alone." Marcus, who had gradually warmed to Amelia as her family products campaign gained traction, offered a solution. "Bring her." There's no official rule against it, and several executives bring their children. The museum has that enchanting courtyard. She'll love it. The suggestion surprised Amelia. Is that appropriate? Technically, yes, Vivian confirmed. Though usually it's board members' children, not staff. That afternoon, reviewing quarterly projections in her office, Amelia was startled by a knock. Daniel stood in her doorway, tablet in hand, looking as immaculately composed as always. "Your numbers for the home comfort line are impressive," he said without preamble, stepping inside. 15% growth in a traditionally flat fourth quarter, Amelia straightened, professional pride momentarily overriding her gala concerns. The product was solid. It just needed marketing that spoke to actual families rather than idealized ones. Daniel nodded, studying a graph on his tablet. The authenticity angle is working. The question is whether we can sustain this momentum through spring. "I've drafted a comprehensive 2-year strategy," Amelia offered, pulling up the document on her computer. "Would you like to review it now?" For the next 30 minutes they discussed market trends and consumer psychology, falling into the easy rhythm they'd developed during their working sessions. Daniel asked incisive questions that pushed Amelia's thinking further, while she challenged some of his more traditional assumptions about family purchasing patterns. "You've brought a valuable perspective to the team," Daniel acknowledged as their meeting concluded. He paused, seeming to debate something internally before adding, "Will you be attending the winter gala?" The question caught Amelia off guard. "I'm hoping to," she hedged. "I'm working on childcare arrangements." Something flickered across Daniel's face. Understanding, perhaps. "Bring her," he said simply. "Maxwell prides itself on being family-friendly. We should demonstrate that beyond policy documents." "Are you sure? Vivian mentioned it's usually only board members who—" "Consider it settled," Daniel interrupted, with a finality that brooked no argument. "I'll inform the event coordinator to expect both of you." After he left, Amelia sat in stunned silence. Daniel Maxwell had just personally approved her bringing Bella to the company's most prestigious annual event. The gesture was thoughtful, yet it reignited her concerns about special treatment. 3 months into her position, she'd earned respect through results. But moments like this complicated the professional boundaries she worked hard to maintain. That evening, while helping Bella with homework at their kitchen table, Amelia broached the subject. "How would you feel about going to a fancy grown-up party at a beautiful museum next Friday? There'll be music and amazing art." Bella looked up from her math worksheet, eyes widening. "Like Cinderella at the ball," Amelia laughed. "Sort of, except we'll definitely be home before midnight, and I'm pretty sure no one will be wearing glass slippers." "Can I wear my blue dress with the stars?" Bella asked, already excited. "Absolutely. You'll be the most beautiful girl there." As the gala approached, Amelia's anxiety mounted. She spent a significant portion of her new salary on a classic black evening dress, simple enough to be appropriate, elegant enough to belong. The night of the event, they took a taxi to the museum, Bella chattering excitedly beside her, resplendent in her beloved blue dress with silver stars. The Gardner Museum glowed with warm light against the December darkness. Inside, the courtyard had been transformed into a winter wonderland, with white lights twinkling among the tropical plants and classical music drifting through the air. Executives in tuxedos and designer gowns mingled with top clients, champagne flutes in hand. "It's like a castle," Bella whispered, gripping Amelia's hand tightly as they checked in. "Ms. Parker," the event coordinator greeted her, consulting her tablet. "Mr. Maxwell mentioned you'd have a guest. We've arranged a special activity corner for the few children attending, with art supplies and appropriate refreshments." Relief washed over Amelia. "That's wonderful, thank you." Once Bella was happily settled among colorful markers and child-friendly hors d'oeuvres, under the watchful eye of a hired caretaker, Amelia navigated the sophisticated crowd. She recognized board members from her interview and key clients from files she'd studied, exchanging pleasantries and business insights. "You've made quite the impression," Patricia commented, appearing beside her with 2 flutes of champagne. "Your family product strategy is the talk of the executive floor." "That's gratifying to hear," Amelia replied, accepting the offered drink. Patricia glanced toward the children's corner where Bella was concentrating on a drawing. "Your daughter seems lovely. She's my world," Amelia said simply. "Everything I do at Maxwell is ultimately for her future." "A powerful motivation," came a familiar voice from behind them. Daniel approached, impeccable in a tailored tuxedo. "Good evening, Patricia." Amelia, the use of her first name, a rare occurrence in their professional interactions, did not go unnoticed by Patricia, whose eyebrows rose slightly. "I'll leave you two to discuss the home comfort success," she said, excusing herself with a knowing smile that made Amelia uncomfortable. "Your daughter seems to be enjoying herself," Daniel observed, nodding toward Bella. "She is. Thank you for making it possible for her to come, Amelia said. It means a lot to both of us. A moment of silence stretched between them, charged with something neither acknowledged. In the sophisticated setting, away from spreadsheets and marketing strategies, Amelia was acutely aware of Daniel, not just as her boss, but as a man, intelligent, driven, and undeniably attractive. Would you introduce us? Daniel asked unexpectedly. The request surprised her. Of course. They walked together to the children's corner, where Bella looked up from her artwork. Mom, I drew our new apartment and your big work building. It's beautiful, sweetie, Amelia said, genuinely impressed by the detailed skyline. Bella, this is Mr. Maxwell. He's the person in charge of Mom's company. Bella studied Daniel with unabashed curiosity. Your building is very tall, she informed him solemnly. Mom says we can see all the way to the ocean from her window. Daniel crouched to Bella's eye level, something Amelia had never seen him do with anyone. You're absolutely right. The ocean is my favorite view too, he told her. May I see your drawing? As Bella proudly showed him her work, explaining each element in detail, Amelia observed their interaction with fascination. Gone was the intimidating CEO, replaced by someone patient and genuinely engaged. When Bella asked if he had any kids, Daniel's expression flickered briefly before he answered with simple honesty. No, I don't. Don't you get lonely? Bella persisted, with the directness only children can manage. Daniel's gaze met Amelia's over Bella's head. Sometimes, he admitted, but right now, I'm enjoying talking with you. The moment was interrupted by Marcus approaching with an important client, pulling Daniel back into his CEO role. As the evening progressed, Amelia mingled professionally while keeping an eye on Bella, who eventually grew tired and curled up on a velvet bench near the art supplies. I think we should head home, Amelia told Patricia around 10. It's well past her bedtime. Let me arrange a car for you, Patricia insisted, typing rapidly on her phone. As Amelia gathered their belongings and a sleepy Bella, Daniel appeared once more at her side. Leaving already? Past someone's bedtime, Amelia explained, as Bella leaned heavily against her. Daniel nodded. I've taken the liberty of having my driver take you home. It's waiting outside. Black Bentley. James will make sure you arrive safely. Before Amelia could protest the special treatment, Bella yawned dramatically, settling the matter. Thank you, she said instead. The evening was lovely. Outside, the promised luxury car waited, its driver holding the door open. As they settled into the plush leather seats, Bella mumbled sleepily, I like your boss, Mom. He looks at you like Prince Charming looks at Cinderella in my book. Amelia froze, her heart skipping a beat at her daughter's innocent observation. What do you mean, sweetie? But Bella had already drifted to sleep, leaving Amelia alone with troubling thoughts as the car glided through Boston's nighttime streets. What she couldn't know was that across town, Daniel sat in his penthouse, a rare glass of scotch in hand, thinking of a drawing by a 7-year-old girl and her mother's determined journey to create stability from chaos, a stark contrast to his own meticulously controlled but increasingly empty-feeling existence. A sharp knock on Amelia's office door broke her concentration. February sunshine streamed through her window, illuminating spreadsheets scattered across her desk. The remnants of a productive morning analyzing the latest home comfort campaign results. Come in, she called, expecting Marcus or one of her team members. Instead, Patricia entered, her typically composed expression unusually grave. Do you have a moment? She asked, closing the door firmly behind her. Of course, Amelia replied, instantly alert. Is everything all right? Patricia took a seat, smoothing her immaculate skirt. There have been concerns raised by certain board members about your relationship with Daniel. Amelia stiffened. My professional relationship with Mr. Maxwell is entirely appropriate. Perhaps, Patricia acknowledged, but perception matters in corporate settings. Your rapid promotion, private office, direct reporting line for special projects, his personal attention at the gala, these things have been noticed. Heat crept into Amelia's cheeks. I've worked incredibly hard. Our family products division has seen unprecedented growth under my marketing strategy. No one questions your competence, Patricia assured her. Your results speak for themselves. It's the appearance of favoritism that's causing whispers. Whispers, Amelia echoed, her stomach sinking. Patricia's expression softened slightly. Richard Blackwell, our CFO, has suggested restructuring the marketing department. Under his proposal, your position would be absorbed into a team reporting directly to Vivian, removing your direct line to Daniel. The implications were clear, a demotion disguised as reorganization. After everything she'd built over the past 5 months, after all the late nights and innovative strategies that had genuinely benefited Maxwell, she was being sidelined because of unfounded gossip. This is ridiculous, Amelia said, struggling to keep her voice level. Has Daniel, Mr. Maxwell, approved this restructuring? He's been out of the country for the Tokyo expansion, Patricia reminded her. The board meets tomorrow morning to finalize quarterly strategies, including department structures. Richard plans to present his proposal then. After Patricia left, Amelia sat motionless, processing this threat to everything she'd built. Her mind raced through options. She could approach Daniel directly, but that might simply reinforce perceptions of special treatment. She could confront Richard, but without allies on the board, she had little leverage. Her gaze fell on the framed photo of Bella on her desk, taken on moving day at their new apartment, her daughter's smile radiant with hope for their fresh start. Everything Amelia had done was for that smile, for the stability and opportunities she'd promised to provide. With sudden clarity, Amelia knew what she needed to do. She wouldn't fight dirty or plead for protection. Instead, she would let her work speak for itself, loudly and definitively. She spent the remainder of the day gathering data, compiling results, and preparing a comprehensive presentation of her contributions to Maxwell Enterprises. By midnight, she had assembled irrefutable evidence of her value, not as someone's favorite, but as a marketing strategist whose vision had tangibly improved the company's bottom line. The next morning, Amelia arrived early, her presentation loaded on a tablet and a newfound determination steeling her nerves. When the board meeting was scheduled to begin, she stationed herself outside the conference room. One by one, board members arrived, some offering polite nods, others regarding her with curious glances. Richard Blackwell was among the last, his silver hair immaculately styled, his expression faltering slightly at the sight of her. "Ms. Parker," he acknowledged coolly. "This is a closed meeting." "I'm aware, Mr. Blackwell," Amelia replied calmly. "I'm hoping for 5 minutes to address the board before you discuss department restructuring." His eyes narrowed. "Patricia shouldn't have—" "No one betrayed confidences," Amelia interrupted. "But Maxwell prides itself on transparency and merit-based advancement. I believe I've earned the right to present my case." Before Richard could respond, a familiar voice spoke from behind them. "I'd be interested in hearing what Ms. Parker has to say." Daniel Maxwell approached, having just returned from his international flight. Though he must have been exhausted from travel, his appearance was impeccable as always, his expression revealing nothing about finding Amelia outside the boardroom. Richard's demeanor instantly shifted. "Daniel, we weren't expecting you until this afternoon. How was Tokyo?" "Productive," Daniel replied briefly, his gaze moving to Amelia. "What case are you presenting, Ms. Parker?" Meeting his eyes directly, Amelia answered with professional confidence. "A data-driven assessment of my contributions to Maxwell Enterprises, relevant to discussions about marketing department structure." Something flickered across Daniel's face, surprise, perhaps respect. Without further comment, he opened the boardroom door, gesturing for her to enter ahead of him. The next 5 minutes would change everything. Standing before the board, 12 influential executives who controlled her professional fate, Amelia delivered the most important presentation of her career. She presented growth figures, customer acquisition costs, retention statistics, and market penetration data. She demonstrated how her strategies had revitalized stagnant product lines and reached previously untapped demographics. "In conclusion," she stated, her voice steady despite her racing heart, "I respectfully suggest that restructuring successful operations without substantive business rationale represents poor management practice. If concerns about my reporting relationship exist, I'm happy to report through standard departmental channels, but I ask to be judged on merit and results, not perceptions or politics." A profound silence followed her presentation. Board members exchanged glances, while Richard studied his folded hands. Finally, Daniel spoke from the head of the table. "Thank you for your candor, Ms. Parker. The board will discuss your points and communicate our decision." It was a dismissal, however politely phrased. Amelia nodded, gathered her materials and exited with her head held high, though uncertainty churned in her stomach. The rest of the day passed in excruciating slowness. Amelia focused on routine tasks, avoiding speculation with colleagues about her fate. When 5 o'clock arrived with no word from the boardroom, she packed her belongings, including Bella's photo, uncertain whether she'd be returning to this office tomorrow. As she waited for the elevator, Daniel's assistant Grace approached. "Mr. Maxwell would like to see you before you leave," she said quietly. The executive floor was nearly deserted as Grace led her to Daniel's office. Inside, he stood at the window, silhouetted against the darkening Boston skyline. He turned as she entered, his expression unreadable. "Your presentation was impressive," he said, without preamble. "Thank you," Amelia replied, maintaining her professional demeanor despite her uncertainty. "The board voted unanimously against restructuring marketing." Relief washed through her, though she kept her composure. "I appreciate their consideration of the data." "It wasn't just the data," Daniel said, moving away from the window. "It was your courage in defending your work. Not many employees would have risked confronting the entire board." "I believe in standing up for what I've earned," Amelia said simply. Daniel studied her for a long moment. "That's precisely why I hired you, Amelia. Not because of our chance meeting or some personal interest, but because you demonstrate conviction alongside competence. Maxwell needs leaders, not just managers." The sincerity in his voice was unmistakable, and Amelia felt tension she'd carried for months finally beginning to dissolve. "There is, however, one significant change to your position," Daniel continued. Her guard instantly rose again. "What change?" "The board has approved creating a new division, Family-Centered Innovation, with you as executive director, reporting directly to me, but with full departmental autonomy. Your success with Home Comfort demonstrated potential beyond traditional marketing structures." Amelia stared at him, processing this unexpected development. "That's a significant promotion. One earned entirely on merit," Daniel emphasized, "detailed in the data you so effectively presented today." As the implications settled, a different kind of tension emerged between them, the unacknowledged personal connection that had developed alongside their professional relationship. In the quiet of his office, without pretense or corporate politics, they stood simply as a man and woman whose lives had intersected in unexpected ways. "There's something else I need to address," Daniel said, his tone shifting slightly. "Something personal." Amelia held her breath, uncertain where this was leading. "I've maintained professional boundaries because of our workplace relationship," he continued. "But after today's board meeting, Richard suggested my defense of your position might stem from personal interest." A wry smile touched his lips. For once, Richard wasn't entirely wrong. The admission hung in the air between them, honest, vulnerable, completely unlike the controlled CEO persona she'd grown accustomed to. "I admire your intelligence, your determination, your integrity," Daniel said quietly. "I've enjoyed every conversation we've had, professional or otherwise. And yes, I find myself thinking about you beyond work contexts." Amelia's heart raced. "Daniel, I'm not asking for anything," he interrupted gently. "Your career and your daughter's stability come first, as they should. I simply wanted to be honest about my feelings, while assuring you that your professional advancement has always been based solely on merit." The sincerity in his eyes made something shift in Amelia's carefully constructed defenses. For years, she'd focused exclusively on survival and stability, putting aside any thought of personal happiness. Standing before Daniel now, she realized how much she'd come to respect and, yes, care for him beyond their professional relationship. "Bella asked me last week why you never come to dinner at our apartment," Amelia said softly. "Apparently you look at me like Prince Charming, and princes are supposed to visit princesses." Daniel's expression transformed with surprised delight. "Observant child. She gets that from me," Amelia replied with a smile, "along with being cautious about fairy tales." "I'm not offering a fairy tale," Daniel said, moving closer. "Just dinner, perhaps. Outside the office, away from Maxwell politics. A chance to know each other simply as Amelia and Daniel." The proposal was modest, reasonable, a beginning rather than a happily ever after. After years of putting dreams aside for practicality, Amelia found herself ready to take a chance on possibility. "I think," she said, meeting his gaze, "Bella would approve of dinner, as would I." Daniel's smile, genuine, unguarded, transformed his face. "Tomorrow evening? I know a little cafe with excellent eggs Benedict." As they laughed together, Amelia realized that sometimes the most unexpected beginnings, a simple question about sharing a table on a rainy morning, could lead to the most meaningful journeys. Her path had led her not just to professional success, but to the possibility of a connection she hadn't dared hope for. Sometimes it seemed happy endings didn't require magic, just courage to sit at an unexpected table and see where the conversation might lead.